Hello, fellow Yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini. And we're your hosts of Binge, Yap, Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge watching TV. And honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
Fair warning, this is a spoiler-friendly zone. We will be discussing lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's Yap time. Hello, Yappers! Today we are going to be talking about The Residence. The Residence is a murder mystery series that premiered on Netflix earlier this month, March, and it's about a fictional murder scandal involving the staff of the White House and was produced by Shondaland. It stars Uzo Aduba as Detective Cordelia Cupp, who is supposed to be this world-renowned detective who's never lost a case, and all of her cases are solved. So before we watched the last episode, Shalini and I both recorded ourselves individually on who we thought was the murderer. So we're going to play that audio now. Should we talk about our predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
I think the calligrapher is the killer,
Ooh.
and he was like a hired person by Harry Hollinger. So I think Harry Hollinger hired him to like kill A.B. Winter for some reason. But there's some like connection there.
It was so funny when he was like, "Oh, his name card's right here."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
But then they never came back to it. He never was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know what happened to me, like why I wrote that."
Yeah, exactly. And then they like never explained it. So I was like, okay, either he is the person or he's like a massive red herring.
My prediction was that it was Lily Schumacher, the social secretary, because she's like involved a lot, but they're not really paying attention to her, and like they never show Cordelia Cupp like interviewing her really or like talking to her that much. And they haven't suspected her yet, even we most medium suspect. I'm so excited to bring that up during the episode.
Yeah. Wait, I'm dead though, because I think I kept that in mind as I like thought about all of the people, but by the fourth episode, I felt like all of the people were either like extremely suspect or like not at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, there isn't any one person that I most medium suspect.
I don't know.
But I see Lily. I see that
I think she's the only person I can think of that's like kind of medium suspect.
Yeah. So first of all, you were so right.
I honestly cannot believe it because I'm always wrong about these things, and I
don't think that's true.
Wait, really? Because I always get it wrong, and then I always question my critical thinking skills. And I had this English tutor in high school who like told me she was like, when you like read books and watch movies and watch TV shows, like you should always be thinking critically about like what you think is going to happen. And I was like, that's so exhausting. And I thought it was, and I was like, I'm so bad at it. I just like letting the show like take me along for the journey. But so I was very surprised that I was correct.
Okay, I'm not surprised that you are correct, because I remember that when we were watching that show with Nicole Kidman in Colorado.
Perfect Couple?
The Perfect Couple. When we were watching The Perfect Couple, you were the one who was like, okay, you guys, like, just make sure it's always the person you most medium suspect. After the first episode, we were like, oh, I think I most medium suspect this person. And then it turns out that we were all right. So like that's how I remember your approach to these murder mysteries.
Okay, to be fair, that is a very recent strategy I've taken ever since Halloween, because I read what was that Agatha Christie book that we both read? And Then There Were None. I was reading And Then There Were None in my book club. And my friend Ariel was like, oh guys, remember that episode of The Office when Dwight is like, it's not the person I most suspect, it's never the person I least suspect, so it must be the person I most medium suspect. And yeah, and ever since then, I guess, yeah, maybe it is always the person we most medium suspect.
Yeah, because I mean, in my eyes, like, you're 2 for 2 here. So it's always the person you most medium suspect is the correct theory.
Thank you, Dwight.
Yeah, thank you, Dwight. But yeah, I guess like going back to my guess,
Okay, yeah.
even though I was wrong, I'm like, okay, but there wasn't an answer either. So
The calligrapher is like the biggest mystery. Like they never
yeah,
answered why he was so terrible at calligraphy, especially for that one guy.
yeah, and also like the fact that it wasn't clear that he was always bad at calligraphy because everyone else was like, "Are you okay?" So like obviously this is an anomaly.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we never really got an answer for, I don't know if you remember this, is in one of like someone's like stories, they were trying to like recount and they were like, oh, and then there was some big crash outside and a bunch of people ran out. Oh, it was one person. Oh, it was 2 people. Oh, it was 15 people. Like all those people ran out to go investigate what it was. And that never came up again either. So what's going on?
Yeah, the calligraphy is definitely an unanswered thing. I don't really remember exactly that part that you're talking about when the people
Oh,
ran
the
out.
van.
Was it about the garden or like the greenhouse? Or was it banging the greenhouse or
I think it was maybe when like Sheila Cannon was recounting her story.
oh,
There was just like a shot of like people just like running out of the front door. There was like a shot of like 15 people running out the front door. It was someone whose like story kept changing, and then they're like, "Oh, that's true. Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not true." But
interesting. Okay.
yeah. So like I tried searching for answers. I was like, maybe I just missed something. I'm not sure. And like, I looked it up on like Reddit, and people on even on Reddit were like, wait, like I also I'm confused. Like, did I miss something? Like there was one person who was like, oh yeah, I was so distracted by the calligrapher that I was more interested in the calligrapher's story than A.B. Winter's death. And I was like, that was kind of me too.
Yeah.
But then there are other people who are like, oh, well, Agatha Christie is known for these like red herrings. So this is probably a reference to, the types of red herrings that she puts in her books. And I'm like, I think that that could be true. But in many ways, all of the other suspects, not suspects, were also red herrings, right? Because by the end of the penultimate episode, she was basically between Bruce and Elsie. So like every other person's story was also kind of a red herring, it felt at that point. It was just like an extremely glaring red herring that was only half there.
Yeah.
So
Like, is that a red herring or is that just bad writing when you don't like tie a bow on every single other possibility that it could be?
yeah, exactly. So I didn't really like that aspect of it, that there were like at least 2 threads that were not tied up in the story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's fair.
But overall, like, what did you think about the show?
I really liked it. I love murder mysteries. And so I guess as a story, I really liked it because I love these types of stories. I also loved that it was set in the White House and not in the West Wing of the White House, and that we actually got to see parts of the residence and stuff and all of the different rooms in there. I thought that was really fun. And just learning about all of the dynamics of the people that work in the White House, in the residence. That was like a really fun concept, I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought the acting was really good. Like going back to Lily, I even like in the last episode, I was like, I don't know if I'm suspecting her more because I already suspected her or her face acting is really good. Every time Cordelia Cupp was panning the room and thinking about like talking through all of the possibilities, anytime they landed on her, she looked stressed rather than just like inquisitive. And I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right. And yeah, like all the acting was really good. I love Cordelia Cupp. as a character. She's so quirky. And I love that she kept bringing it back to birds, and everyone was like, shut up about the bird.
I loved the little
Oh,
bird.
yeah.
Yeah, it was so relatable. I
Yeah.
guess like yeah, going back to like the Lily Schumacher thing. Maybe I was biased because we had shared the theories before we actually watched the last episode, but I also was kind of like narrowing in on Lily. And I also like picked up on these like facial cues that she was like super stressed. Well, also they had centered her in the camera and stuff,
Mm-mm.
so we're always like thinking about her. So I think they did do that,
Intentionally.
intentionally. I agree that the acting was good. But also the camera work too.
Yeah.
So there is one really, really beautiful shot. I really love the way they did this. They basically took like the cross section of the White House, and when they were explaining like the different rooms, they were going from like to room and like zooming out and like zooming in. And I thought that was really cool to just
Ooh.
see the different floors in the basement, and then like see the red room and the yellow room and the
Yeah.
blue room, and like all of that stuff was really cool. So I really appreciated that little bit of cinematography.
Yeah, it was so cool. I loved all the zooming out, and when we got the bird's eye view of like people like walking around the different rooms and how each room was like glowing a slightly different color. Um, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I loved the way that they did like the editing as well. Like every story that someone told, they kind of like um did the real life manifestation of how that story would look.
Mhm.
But then when they changed their story, they're like, oh, actually this is what it would look like. So like when Didier got hard, got hard, when Didier got hard, the Swedish chef was like, oh, I think the knife was on the right side. And then they like panned and it was like AB Winter with the knife on his right side. And then she was like, well, actually, that's not true because then you wouldn't have hit yourself on the table. And then it was like, oh, so I guess it must have been on the left. And then the pan and's
Oh
like,
yeah,
maybe left side. I thought that was really cool because it really
yeah,
hinted like, oh, this could be reality. Oh, this could be reality. This is reality. So I thought that was like a really nice effect.
yeah, yeah. I really liked all of the storytelling, like from every single character. And I thought my only complaint is that I think the show went on like a tiny bit too long, to the point where I was kind of like, okay, I just like want to know what happened at this point. Like, I don't know. I was just getting too confused with all of the different storylines and plots and like possibilities that it could have been. I was like, wait, okay, what's actually like, what are the facts? Because they showed us so many things that weren't facts that I was like, I'm having a hard time remembering what are facts. Like, okay, he was in the game room. There was no knife. He was dragged there from the yellow oval room. Yeah, all of that stuff. That if it was a tiny bit shorter, I think it would have been a little better.
I totally agree. So it was 8 1 hour long episodes each,
And the
basically.
last episode
Uh,
was an hour and a half.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a long time. And I think also, okay, so it was it was a long show. It went on a little longer. And they didn't tie up any of the well,
Mm,
not any of them. They
yeah.
didn't tie up like the calligrapher or like the big noise outside. Like they didn't tie any of that stuff up in spite of it going longer than it kind of needed to be.
Yeah.
So I think that was a little frustrating. And then also by the middle of the last episode, I was like, okay, I think I know what's going on. Like you said, okay, he was like found in the game room, killed in the yellow oval room. Got it. How did he get from here to there? Oh, he was dragged. But
Mhm.
then when she started explaining and doing the pathway in the last episode, she was like, okay, we were in the game room. And
Mm,
then before we got to the game room, we were in room 301, the
mhm.
renovated room. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about the renovated room.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And then she was like, oh, yeah, before we were in the renovated room, we were in the Lincoln room. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot we were in the Lincoln because I thought it was just like 1 to 1, but no,
Same.
I forgot that he was on multiple floors and
This man was hauled around the entire residence.
I know. I was like, how did? Okay, now it's like embarrassing that no one saw him. He went from living on a house tour
downstairs. Yeah, he took an entire house tour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was so funny. But yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, so much happened to this body after the fact that I just completely forgot about. Yeah. I don't know if you caught this at the very end of the last episode, when all the credits were rolling. It said in memory of Andre Braugher.
Oh yeah, I
who
noticed
is
that. I don't know who he is though.
So he's the police captain in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the guy who's like vindication, the meme.
Ah.
Yeah, so that's him. So he actually passed away sometime last year, and I think it was last year, so recent-ishly.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a shock, but the reason that they had that card at the end is because he was supposed to be the person playing AB Winter. So they had actually done like half of the episodes with him as AB Winter,
Oh.
and then he like died. So they had to go back and like redo basically everything with I can't remember the new actor's name as AB.
Wow. Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I caught that and I was like, oh, why is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Andre Braugher passed away December 11th, 2023. And he died, his death was attributed to lung cancer. So it probably wasn't a super surprise, but it was still a shock.
Yeah.
Okay, so like going back to the show, there were obviously a lot of references to Agatha Christie novels, Glass Onion, Knives Out, all these other different types of like murder mystery stuff. So I thought that was really cool, and it felt very immersive in the sense that it was like a murder mystery slash a little bit of comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to just like go through the different suspects slash not suspects. So we have Jasmine Haney, we have Bruce and Elise, Sheila Cannon, Didier Gotthard, Marvella, Lily Schumacher, Patrick Doumbé, the third man, Harry Hollinger, the president and the first man, Perry and Elliot Morgan, and then we have Trip Morgan. So those are all of like the suspects that were gathered in that room, along with like the police chiefs and Secret Service and people, etc. But I guess like even though they were suspects, I had said this before, a lot of their stories did feel like red herrings in the end. So one person that I was never really convinced about that they kept showing her was Marvella, the chef. They kept showing that scene of her being like, I'm going to kill you. And like, even when they showed that scene, I don't think I was very convinced. I was like, this is not like a real threat. Like, it's pretty obvious that it's not.
Yeah.
So it's just so weird that they kept showing that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was her and there was someone else where I was like, this person obviously didn't do it. I think maybe like Trip Morgan or something where I was like, he like did not hate AB enough to kill him. And it was like so obvious, and they like kept coming back to it and trying to get us to think that he did it or she did it.
Speaking of Trip Morgan, how did you feel about his confession to George McCutcheon?
Oh my god, it's so convenient. I thought that was also kind of bad writing, or just very lazy writing for him to just have completely told the entire story to a silent man who works there. I did laugh when he was like, hey, it's George McAfee, or I forgot his last name, and it was like, the George McAfee. Just kidding. I know there are three of you. I laughed at that moment. But yeah, overall, I thought it was just like lazy writing.
Speaking of George McCutcheon, why were there three of them? Did you like manage to do any thinking on that?
No, I don't know. I think it was just like it was supposed to be like a fun fact that there are three people with the same exact name that work in the White House.
Yeah, I guess so, because I was looking it up and I was like, oh, this would be like a cute Easter egg if it was like maybe if George McCutcheon was actually a real person who was like in the White House for a really long time that they just wanted to pay him some homage. Or if George McCutcheon was some like Agatha Christie, like murder mystery type character. Yeah, but I tried looking it up and I couldn't really find anything. So listeners, if you know exactly why there were 3 George McCutcheons, please let us know. Do you want to talk about my favorite suspect, Mr. Patrick Doombay?
Oh my god, Mr. Doombay. What a clown.
His story was just so dumb. Like when listening to his story, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a red herring.
This is a red herring.
Yeah, so
but also
oh
like in what world is it that easy to sneak into a White House state dinner? But that can't be real. That can't be real. I'm sure at the very least they like check off names at the door. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
And like I'm sure there are people there that have like memorized the faces of everyone who's supposed to be there that night and stuff.
Exactly. And I think maybe like that's why they were kind of highlighting how dysfunctional this White House staff
like
was,
this set of people.
Yeah, because Lily had like 8 million seating charts and the Secret Service was not supposed to be there when they should have been, and there was no one checking off the list, and the calligrapher sucked. Like all of these things were just the perfect storm, which is also probably why AB was like, I can't leave the house, not like this.
Yeah, that's true.
But I agree. I mean, even in spite of having such a dysfunctional house, is it really that easy?
Come on. Also, those 2 other randos. How did they sneak in? Yeah.
The socialites. Another red herring. Like,
yeah, just. I know. But I guess that's what these shows are about. These stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but it was just like frustrating. So, like, yeah, Marvella was never really convinced of her. Yeah. I was never really convinced of the Swedish chef either.
Oh, the
honestly.
Swiss. Not
or,
Swedish.
Sorry, the Swiss guy.
The Swiss German.
Swiss German, not the Swedish chef.
Big summer blowout. Yeah, I feel like the focus was on them too early in the show. Like I knew it just couldn't be them because it was so early in the show.
But they also, I think they like showed a bunch of suspicious things in the first episode, but they didn't really like dig into them in parallel. You know what I mean? So like when we first saw the Swiss chef Didier, he was just like on the ground.
Yeah,
right?
That was
just, like,
so weird. I was like, you're not gonna ask about that guy? Like,
yeah, exactly. And it was just like kind of weird, right? Yeah. And so as much as like Detective Cupp is super good at her job and like asks all the right questions, it was kind of strange that she like didn't question the stuff that was obviously strange.
Yeah. And I guess she, maybe it was because she's such a genius, she was taking it all in and coming to her own conclusions without even having to question or something. But yeah, as a viewer, it was very confusing to walk by this guy who's going through something clearly on the floor, like while people are downstairs, and not question what he's doing.
Yeah, it was super weird. And then I think in the end, in the last episode, they tried to do something where they were pointing fingers to show that, oh, everyone had a part in this. But then it just kind of felt like whiplash in the end. Even at the very, very end, but they were like, well, who gave the order to seal the door? And then it was like, Jasmine Haney. And then everyone's like, Jasmine. And then Jasmine was like, well, blah, 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 and all of the other things, blah, blah, blah. But also, it was an order. And they were like, an order by who? And then she was like,
Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, and then they did like paragraphs on that, and then it actually was like, oh, then it wasn't Elliot Morgan. It was actually Lily pretending to be Elliot. So like, yeah, I think going back to your point of like, too much exposition, kind of things just going on longer than they had to, which is kind of disappointing because I thought it had so many elements of a really, really good show. Just like was a little bit too dry.
Yeah, and basically, I totally agree. And if it had been one episode less, or maybe I was actually thinking like, what if they had just made this as a movie, and maybe we wouldn't be feeling this way because it would be condensed into like 2 hours. But then I was trying to think if there are other shows that are kind of like this, and the one I'm thinking of is Broadchurch, season 1. Did you ever watch that?
Oh, yeah, I think you told me to
Oh,
watch
okay.
that.
Yeah, where it's a murder in a small town, and each episode you start suspecting someone different. But yeah, that show didn't seem like it went on for too long, but I don't know. I think also maybe because this show was, I don't know. I feel like usually also in the shows that I've watched that are like this, and procedurals like this, it's more like you find out who did it in the second to last episode, and then the last episode is like why they did it and how they did it or something. And so it's like a more
Oh,
satisfying ending versus this was just like, okay, just tell us already. Like it's the last episode.
yeah.
Don't keep dragging us around. I don't know.
Yeah, but then I think that also like lent itself to the idea of like, oh, well, she herself doesn't know who did it. She is just waiting for the blame, right?
Mm,
But I think in those other shows, I don't think I, as the audience, was shown anything that I personally questioned that wasn't addressed.
true.
And I think that's also
Yeah.
why it felt like it was a bit longer because you were waiting for them to address the thing that you had seen in like an episode ago, 2 episodes ago, 3 episodes
Yeah.
ago. But then they like never did, or like they did it in a weird order that you were reminded of things that you had forgotten because you were so hyper
On
fixated on this
other
thing that they
things.
never actually. Yeah. So I wonder if that was an intentional choice, but I agree. I feel like it could have been consolidated. I think it could have been a movie. Like I don't really know why it
Mm,
wasn't.
mhm.
And that would have been a really good movie.
Yeah.
Would have been really like
Totally.
but yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, actually, one scene that I appreciated, but maybe like didn't expect, was the scene with Detective Cupp and her nephew when they go birding.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, what did you think about that scene?
I guess I don't really know why it was totally necessary. I guess the strawberry sock was the reason they did that entire part of the show. At least that the most I got out of that entire part with her nephew was just like the strawberry sock story of, yeah, the backstory of like how she fell in love with this line of work. Honestly, I don't think I thought this until this moment, but now I'm like, I think that was probably a little unnecessary also.
Yeah, like I could see that story about the strawberry sock. I could easily see that entire scene being like cut down completely, and then her just telling Edwin
Mm,
Park, like, this is how I problem solve. Like, this is how I approach problems. I put pieces together and I put pieces together very thoroughly by this whole process. And so that could have been a good bonding moment between the two of them where she's like, I figured out where this sock went for like the people that I love and care about.
yeah.
And like, that's why I'm in this line of work. And that's also why it's really important to me to like do the job right and not get pushed around by anyone else.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a great story. So I guess like I agree. Like I didn't really see the point of that, like looking back on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, also in addition to that scene, the whole scene with like Marvella and the Australian guy like having sex was also kind of weird. Like that Australian guy honestly like could have been cut from this whole story.
I think
Uh,
I had more patience for that, but maybe it was just because it was episode 1 or episode 2. It was so early on that I was like, okay, this is funny. And if they saw something happen while they were having sex, that works for the show, I think.
that's true.
Which they kind of did, but then they took
Okay.
so long to come back
did.
to it that it was annoying. Yeah, it, like I feel like the way they laid out the order of events in this show was so unsatisfying.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, I take it back. I think, yeah, their story was important for the greenhouse, the guy smoking, or I guess Sheila smoking, and the blood on the vest, right? On the shirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the blood on the vest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shirt.
Okay, so I agree. I think that was an important thing to happen. I guess, like, were there any other suspects that you were just like not considering at all? I think in my mind, Jasmine was another one. Jasmine Hayes.
Yeah, she was another one where I think she was maybe second on my list after Lily, just because it was such a given that she didn't do it from the get-go. I'm glad she didn't, I guess. But I actually did kind of suspect her, just because she clearly had a motive, but her whole speech about being angry that she's not the chief usher was pretty convincing, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It sounded like that was pretty genuine. So, oh, now that I think about it, sorry, just pivoting to another suspect, Harry
Oh, yeah.
Hollinger. One thing that they never really explained was in the first episode, like Detective Cupp was there and everyone's like, oh, she's like on the lawn birding or whatever. And then the Parks guy, also want to talk about the Parks guy.
okay.
So pin in that. But the Parks guy was like, oh, didn't like, you know, Detective Cupp, didn't you say in the elevator that you hope they didn't bring in Detective Cupp? And then he was like, stop. He was like, what? I never said that. Kind of like, stop
Yeah,
talking.
like, shut the fuck up.
I didn't say that. Yeah. And so never explained that either.
And maybe that was just because, like, it would make him look guilty to say something like that. But yeah. Or like, he's like, I just said that because I don't want this to take a long time, not because I don't want her to solve the murder or something. Yeah, I guess they could have made it more clear why he didn't want that to be said.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Because in the end, he did, like, he was the one who, like, called Detective Cupp back and was like, you need to, like, figure out who actually did it so you can clear my name. Yeah, okay, that's true. I will give you that. Yeah, but yeah, okay, well, in general, I thought it was a good watch, good time pass, but still feel like a lot of people. Oh wait, I said I would come back to the Parks guy. Question mark?
I feel like he was in like 3 scenes. Yeah.
I thought there would be some big reveal about knowledge that he had, or like, oh, actually, he is the one who has jurisdiction in the White House. And so he was the one like who should have been calling the shots all along.
Yeah.
Or he was some undercover. Another thing that was just like, why is this guy here? Yeah. And like, why is he being treated like he has something important to say, and then he like never does?
Yeah, it ended up being so inconsequential. Actually, like, I don't know why they had so many people from different organizations, like the MPD guy. Okay, if it was established that MPD has authority and that's why he brought in Cordelia Cupp, why is the FBI still there? Why is the National Park Service guy there? Why are other people still there?
I totally agree. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, this is the one landmark where it is possible that all 4 of these official bodies have jurisdiction. And so like that's why they're like present in every scene and like and not actually making progress or doing anything to help the investigation.
Just like bureaucracy.
Yeah. But also, I don't know, something that was definitely lost on me if there was anything to be gained from that. I think also the Parks guy had one thing that was like, oh, there's a saying in the Parks department, like, if there's a moose, and then Harry Hollinger just like cuts him off entirely. I was like, oh, what if he was gonna say something about like, that could have, oh, if there's, yeah, that could have helped. Like, oh, if there's a moose, run away. So
if
I
there's
actually
a moose, always suspect the White House social secretary.
It's always the moose, you most medium suspect. So I thought there would be more signs to help me figure out who the murderer was if I like saw all the signs and put them all together in the right place. But there were a lot of signs. A lot of them were false. It took too long to like go down all of the different pathways to like vet this.
Wait, okay, I have a question. Was the president the ex-husband in Younger?
Oh,
is that David?
You're so right.
I was like, he looks so familiar. So where do I know him from? But I didn't actually look it up, but I think that's him, right? Yeah.
This is actually like quite the star-studded cast, I feel.
Yeah. Like Jasmine Haney, who played I forgot her character's name, but she was a big character in This Is Us.
Yeah.
And then who else?
Like the main character,
Detective
Cupp. She was Yeah, Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
The guy who played A.B. Winter was in Breaking Bad, right? He played Gus, or is that someone else?
That's Gus. He looks so different. Yeah, okay, I totally see it now, but wow. He looks so different with hair and no glasses.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who are the other people. Lily Schumacher has been in a bunch of like random shows.
She wasn't
Before I
Anna's
Go
mom
After
in
That.
Pen 15, was she? Okay. Okay.
No.
I thought she kind of looked like her. I also wanted to talk about Bruce and um oh,
Oh,
Elsie,
Elsie.
Elsie, yeah. Their story. I thought their love story was so cute.
I also thought it was super cute. I guess I had completely forgotten about them, but in the first episode they exchanged like shifty looks with
Oh,
each
really?
other. And so I remember clocking that, but then again,
Yeah.
like didn't
Come
forgot
back to
about
it
it
for a while.
entirely because other threads were being followed. So I'm glad that they started talking about them only in the final episode though. But yeah, I agree. I think their love story was really
That was
cute.
so sweet. And then I thought it was good writing how they made it seem like both of them thought the other one had done it and they were both trying to protect the other one or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was very creative. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cute. And then the way that she found out that they were like dating each other is that their little Pantheon ceiling
So cute. Except it sounds like they
memorabilia.
like kind of broke up after the murder.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Sad.
I think a murder is hard to patch a relationship.
Especially if you think your boyfriend/girlfriend did it.
Yeah. But hopefully maybe they've like, rekindled their flame. Their twin flames.
Hope they make it to Rome.
Yeah. I'm sure they will. Shall we rate?
Yes. Let's do it.
Wait, let me just double check that there's no one else that we want to talk about. Sheila Cannon, we didn't really talk about her.
Oh yeah. Oh girl. Such a hot mess.
Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised because I feel like as far as the White House staff goes, it feels like the people who do work there and interact with people there are very much like by the book,
like super straight-laced.
traditional. Yeah, super straight-laced. Like they don't have like these like big personalities. Like if they are alcoholics, they like hide it, you know. So I thought like she was a very interesting choice.
Like it's unlikely.
Yeah, unlikely, but also like maybe that was her charm. Like they also like didn't really go into her backstory that much.
A little. Oh, like what she was doing that night or her past, because I liked her Waffle House to White House story.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about her Waffle House to White House story. Yeah,
that was really cute.
Okay, that's true. They did talk about her.
But I was also like, well, you're like, what's at stake here. Like, why are you risking this if you're the one that really wants to be here this badly?
Yeah, and some people are just self-sabotagers, you know.
Yeah, but I thought it was really cute that the former first lady and her are like so close and such good friends.
Yeah, bestie.
And she's just like hovering behind, like waiting for her to notice her. So cute.
Yeah, so cute. Yeah, though when she did like tell her story again and again and again and again, I did get very frustrated.
Yes, me too.
So
yeah, and then like now as the viewer, I'm like, I don't even remember what the real story was because you showed me so many fake stories.
Yeah. I don't know either, actually. I mean, I think it was like she took a bottle of vodka up, she forgot the glass, she left the bottle of vodka on the pool table. That's why the pool table was wet. She came back up with a glass,
drank the entire
bottle of vodka. Okay. So it didn't really need a glass to begin with. And then just like went back down.
Oh, and then the second bottle she was bringing up is when she actually ran into when she ran into Mr. Doumbé. When she was bringing the replacement bottle up to the first man's mom.
She never made it back up after the first bottle.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you're right. This when she was trying to take the second bottle up is when Jasmine stopped her and was like, no, you can't go up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good question. When did she go up with Patrick? Maybe when she was taking the class
I guess so. I forgot. There was too much.
You said, like, who even knows? I guess like her story was meant to more confirm the timing, or like confirm that he was moved to the game room, and also confirmed the timing of when he was like killed, and then probably also moved, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I guess her story served a purpose. I guess I'm okay with like all of the red herrings if their true stories served a purpose in solving the mystery.
Yeah, and like I think with Sheila's story, I mean, it wasn't that necessary, right? To prove that, like, oh, we needed her testimony to like prove that he wasn't there in the game room. Man, I don't even know.
We're just talking in circles now.
Yeah, seriously. Why do you think that Trip Morgan was such a kleptomaniac? Like, why was he stealing all this stuff?
I don't know. They didn't really like unpack that at all. My guess is that he feels so disrespected by his brother that's his like way to reclaim his power or something. That's my guess, but yeah, they like really did not explain that. when he was like, what painting? And then the painting gets revealed behind him. Like, bro, what are you doing? You live here.
Yeah. Well, as far as rating goes, I actually did feel pretty positive about this show. But after our discussion, I feel, wait, there's another thing. Wait, what was the point of that? And like now I'm like starting to see the frayed edges that I'm like, maybe I might have to knock off a half point after this discussion. So I think my final rating is 6.5.
That's exactly what I was gonna give it. Yeah, I came in. As I was finishing the finale, I was like, yeah, I think I'll give it a 7. But now that we've talked about how frustrating parts of it were to watch, yeah, I think 6.5. Like, definitely enjoyable. Probably wouldn't rewatch. But like fun, interesting, creative. Loved learning about the White House.
Love learning about birds.
I'll be honest, I did not really care for that. Like, I loved that for her, but for me, I was like, I'm good.
That's so Edwin Park of you.
Just call me Harry Hollinger.
I totally agree. I felt the exact same way. I mean, I think I came out of it being like, okay, that was like a good watch. I think it was a 7. But yeah, so many edges, so many questions, so many stones left semi-inspected. So 6.5 for me. I do think they would have benefited by making it a shorter show. I think that would have been more enjoyable and like really ruthlessly edited things.
Yeah.
Some of the things were like a little bit more seamless.
Totally. Just a little bit of editing. We've gone a long way.
Just a little bit. In our case, it's going to be a lot of it. We need a lot of editing. So this will be a lot to edit.
Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, find us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!